The story begins with Takaru, an ordinary Japanese worker, returning home after another exhausting day. As he sits down, he decides to turn on the television, trying to shake off the feeling of routine that bores him every day. In his mind, he thinks it would be good to try something different, a rhythm that would break the monotony. The moment his eyes lock onto the screen, the lenses of his glasses glow brightly, and in the blink of an eye, he is transported to an unknown world. A mysterious-looking man greets him calmly, offering him a cup of tea, a gesture that leaves him even more confused. The stranger introduces himself as the manager responsible for his world's solar system. Astonished, Takaru watches as the man creates a mini-planet called Medius on the tip of his finger. The manager explains that Medius is a hostile place, incapable of sustaining a civilization on its own. He then drops a drop of water on the small planet, stating that this would be the effect Takaru would have upon arriving there. The Japanese man is shocked by the sudden responsibility thrust upon him. It is at this moment that the man reveals a harsh truth. Takaru had lost his soul because in reality, he was already dead. Surprised and seeing no other way out, Takaru listens as the manager explains that he will receive special powers to survive in the new world. The man grants him infinite human attack and then asks if he wants to gain more abilities. In his thoughts, Takaru considers the opportunity and decides to order a luxurious sarum, something that makes him smile even without fully understanding the situation. The manager just nods silently and continues, handing him an advanced mission: find and sell rare items. He adds even more abilities, granting Takaru a bottomless bag to store the treasures he collects, as well as the ability to understand the local language. Suddenly, Takaru's body begins to disintegrate before his very eyes. The manager, worried, reflects that perhaps he had given the new traveler too much power, but quickly reassures his companion, stating that he will be fine. Deep down, Takaru suspects he is being deceived, but darkness envelopes his vision until he awakens, leaning against a tree in the middle of a lush forest. Looking up, he sees a gigantic ring planet in the sky, amazed by the scene. He stands up and decides to look for people. After walking for some time, he finds a village. Worry arises in his mind. He has no money at all. Then he remembers the search ability he had received, holds his wand, but nothing happens, making him look like a fool. Thinking he has pronounced the spell wrong, he writes it on the ground, and finally, the search magic activates, revealing the location of several items around. When analyzing one of them, he discovers that it is a B-class nightshade. The plant looked promising, but when he looks for the other items, he is disappointed to realize that they were all classified. And yet, he also finds a beautiful stone, only to be surprised to find that it was monster dung. Shocked, he checks his rating and discovers it is classified as C. Keeping everything in his bag, he decides to sell his findings in the village. At the entrance, a guard yawns in boredom but is soon surprised by Takaru's height, wondering if he is a knight. The protagonist responds that he is just a collector, and the man introduces himself as Captain Marl, responsible for the defense of the place. Marl opens the gate and directs him to find a general store where they can buy their herbs. Upon entering, Takaru feels the weight of curious glances but ignores the discomfort. The shop owner asks if he needs anything, and he inquires if he could sell monster dung. The merchant, surprised by the quality of the material, offers him a gold coin. Takaru, surprised by the amount, asks if it would be enough to pay for a stay at an inn. The shopkeeper explains that, since it costs 500 Arabs a night, 1 gold coin would cover 2 nights. Fascinated by the price, Takaru happily accepts. The merchant, excited, rubs the shiny dung on his face and asks if he has any more materials. The protagonist hands over his herbs, impressing the man, who asks why he would sell such rare items in a small shop. To avoid raising suspicion, Takaru replies that he is a traveling merchant. Considering him talented, the logistics officer offers him a mission to search for Mithril, or in a mountain to the east. In return, he pays Takaru 360,000 Arabs for all the materials. The boy's eyes almost pop out in astonishment at the sight of such a large sum. The man, however, warns him about the monsters that inhabit the mountain. With the money in hand, Takaru rents a room at an inn. An attendant enters carrying a tub of hot water, explaining that he could purify himself. The protagonist asks about a full bath and the girl reveals that only nobles or people who hire water mages can afford that luxury. Excited, Takaru decides to use his own magic. He offers the girl a small amount of money and, after she leaves, tries to recite words to create water. When he says, "Purify," a jet envelopes him, cleaning him deeply. Outside, the attendant is startled by the sounds of relief coming from the room. Takaru, happy to be clean, only regrets not being able to take a hot, relaxing bath. The next day, he collects herbs again until he finds a strange symbol. Upon examining it, he discovers the decomposing body of an adventurer. Shocked, he retreats but finds an amulet with a letter from the deceased sister. The young man discovers that the adventurer had left in search of money to treat his father's illness, but his sister begged him to return home. Feeling sorrow for the lost soul, Takaru digs a grave and offers prayers. Then he builds a protective barrier and lights a fire, preparing a stew with vegetables, meat, and water. When tasting the result, he praises the flavor. Impressed by the local spices and satisfied, he heads to the white forest of the ancient dragons. Cautious of monsters, he conjures a small light, revealing only herbs without any ore. He is thankful that he did not encounter any enemies and jokingly thinks that perhaps his scent is keeping the creatures away. He runs happily until, following a light, he ends up falling into an abyss. In a panic, he recites countless spells until he finds the one for flight. His body is enveloped in a magical light, and he manages to land safely. Relieved, he notices mineral symbols nearby and begins mining. He discovers silver but finds no mithril. When he casts the search spell again, he identifies hidden ore but feels the ground shake. He decides to hurry, conjuring a fireball that explodes the rock, revealing fragments of mithril. Frustrated by the small amount, he ignores the tremor and continues exploring until he finds a prismatic lake at the bottom of the cave. Fascinated, he analyzes the water and discovers that it is animated SS elemental water. He realizes, however, that it is the nest of an ancient dragon. A deep voice echoes, demanding to know his identity. Even so, Takaru tries to think of how to collect the water, but when he tries to drink it, the liquid churns, and the dragon emerges furious, ordering him to stop ignoring it. Astonished, Takaru silently observes the immense creature before him. The dragon notices the strange serenity of the young man in his lair, which is unusual for someone in such a place. Takaru, aware of the situation, lowers his head and apologizes for invading that forbidden area. As the immense creature analyzes his body, the boy feels uncomfortable, as if he is involuntarily submitting himself to that colossal being. Poldius, intrigued, admires the courage he demonstrates and asks in a deep voice, "Who are you?" Our protagonist introduces himself as human, and this revelation surprises the dragon. "A simple human with so much mana," reflects the beast, almost in disbelief. Then, Poldius explains that the power emanating from Takaru has been so intense that it has forced him to wake up from his long sleep. Although he still does not understand why this has happened, the dragon observes seriously and declares that Takaru's energy is comparable to his own. Only then does the boy understand that he is in front of an ancient creature. Poldius confirms his suspicions and reveals his name. The young man, trying to ease the tension, asks if he can call him a ball. To Takaru's surprise, the dragon agrees with the nickname, as if it amused him. Soon after, the beast asks the boy for a favor, to use that extraordinary power to awaken his still sleeping children. Takaru is perplexed, and Poldius explains that in his lair, the flow of magical energy is stagnant. To show his gratitude, he makes an immense quantity of pure mithril, or appear before him as payment. Curious, Takaru asks where the eggs are. Poldius responds by making a huge black egg emerge from the water. He carefully brings it closer to the young man, who holds it to his ear and is surprised to hear the soft sound of a heart beating steadily inside the shell. He wonders, intrigued, how he can awaken that sleeping life. The dragon explains that all he has to do is transfer his mana into the egg, comparing the process to creating a light spell. Determined, Takaru concentrates and begins to warm it up. The egg reacts by releasing an impressive aura, suddenly sucking all of the boy's energy. Poldius, laughing like a villain, watches as Takaru feels himself growing weaker and weaker. "So I have been deceived by this cunning creature," he thinks, sinking slowly into the waters of the lair. In the midst of that torpor, a strange dream forms. A voice rebukes his naivety, calling him careless. Soon the figure of a mysterious man appears before him and states that the young man must have fled from the dragon. "You've been messing with Medius for millennia, but in just 2 days you've already shaken the entire balance of the world," he accuses. He reflects that Takaru's recklessness has weakened the natural protection of the space and at the same time remembers the boy's desire for a beautiful companion. When Takaru is about to lose consciousness again, he hears the final sentence. "You deserve the consequences of your actions." Before he can ask for an explanation, the vision fades, and he is jolted back to reality. In the dark cave, a soft voice calls out to him. Poldius asks if he is okay, but Takaru suspects it is just a joke with a fake voice. He then casts a spell of light to reveal the truth, and before him appears a small newborn dragon that flies straight at his face. Surprised, he places the puppy on the ground. Poldius asks him to give the little one a name, which leaves Takaru amazed. The dragon explains that his son already has a name in the dragon language, but he also needs a common name. The boy thinks for a few moments before deciding to simply call him B, because of the black color of his scales. The puppy shows joy by licking the human's face, while Poldius proudly announces the full name, Black Movie Boldus. He then congratulates Takaru on choosing the nickname. With that, Poldius authorizes the boy to continue his journey around the world. Takaru, however, is worried about the cub. "Shouldn't I spend more time with him? How can I trust my child to someone I just met?" he thinks, but Poldius replies that he trusts him because he believes Takaru is even stronger than him. Before returning to the depths, he launches a beam of energy that fixes itself on the young man's bag. The hatchling continues to lick Takaru's face, while the father dragon says goodbye, disappearing back into the water. Astonished by that experience, Takaru asks the little dragon out loud if he is ready for a mineral collecting adventure. The cub seems to agree, vibrant and excited. So, the boy sets about cleaning them to remove the bad smell and ensure they are ready for the next trips. Subscribe if you'd like to see the next part when it's out.